Men believe power comes from wealth, status, or strength. They are wrong. True power is born in silence, when you can feel everything, yet show nothing. The world is not ruled by those who are kind, but by those who are calm when others break, silent when others scream, and cold when others beg for warmth. To become emotionally dangerous is not to kill emotion, but to tame it, to make it obey your command like a loyal soldier. Today, I will teach you 10 dark lessons. Lessons that will make your heart unshakable, your mind untouchable, and your presence impossible to ignore. Let us begin. To master detachment is to rise above the noise that enslaves ordinary men. Most people are ruled by what they feel. Anger blinds them, love weakens them, fear paralyzes them. They act not by choice, but by reaction. Machiavelli understood that emotion is a leash, and whoever learns to hold it instead of wear it becomes untouchable. Detachment is not the absence of emotion. It is the art of seeing emotion from a distance, like a commander watching a battlefield from a tower. You see where anger rises, where fear hides, and where desire moves the troops. You do not rush into the fight. You calculate. You wait. You strike only when it serves your purpose. The one who practices detachment appears cold to others, but in truth, he burns with clarity. When the world insults him, he does not defend himself, because he knows that reaction is submission. When someone betrays him, he does not crumble, because he expected the nature of men. Detachment frees him from the illusion that people act out of goodness. He knows they act out of need, greed, or fear. This understanding gives him control. While others are busy feeling, he is busy planning. Most men think detachment means being emotionless, but that is ignorance. The detached mind feels everything, but obeys nothing. It studies anger without being consumed by it, observes pain without being owned by it, and senses fear without bending to it. Detachment sharpens perception. It allows you to see people not as you wish them to be, but as they are. You begin to recognize the hidden motives behind every smile, every promise, every tear. You no longer take words at face value. You see the shadow behind every gesture. That sight alone gives you an advantage over those who are blind with emotion. In the game of power, emotions are distractions. They cloud judgment, expose weakness, and make you predictable. The detached man is unpredictable. No one knows what will trigger him, because nothing truly does. His silence becomes unsettling. His calm becomes threatening. People fear what they cannot read, and in that fear lies control. Detachment creates an aura of mystery, a shield stronger than any weapon. It makes others question your next move, while you already know theirs. Detachment also protects your mind from manipulation. The world thrives on emotional bait. Praise to feed your ego, insults to test your pride, love to make you surrender. Those who react are puppets, pulled by invisible strings. The detached man cuts those strings. He accepts praise without dependence, hears insults without defense, receives love without surrender. His value is internal, not granted by others. That independence terrifies people, because they cannot control what they cannot influence. To live detached is to live strategically. You no longer chase validation, because you know power does not need recognition. You no longer fear loss, because you understand that everything temporary cannot define you. When others panic, you think. When others seek revenge, you wait. When others need comfort, you remain composed. You become the calm in every storm. And that calm is your greatest weapon. Detachment demands discipline. It requires that you kill the urge to react, even when every part of you wants to. It asks you to pause before speaking, to analyze before deciding, to smile when you are underestimated. Over time, that restraint becomes instinct. Your emotions still exist, but they serve you like trained soldiers, marching in silence until commanded. In that state, you no longer belong to the chaos of men. You stand above it, watching, learning, and shaping outcomes while others drown in their own feelings. This is how Machiavelli would have defined true strength, not in the ability to dominate others, but in the power to govern oneself when emotions demand surrender. Pain is the first and most honest teacher. Every man will face it, but only a few will use it. Most curse their suffering, trying to forget or escape it. But those who seek power study it. Machiavelli would tell you that pain is the forge where strength is shaped and weakness is burned away. When you turn pain into control, you stop being a victim of what happens to you and become the architect of what comes next. Suffering is inevitable, but submission is optional. Pain is a raw material. How you use it determines who you become. When you are betrayed, humiliated, or broken, you are given a choice: to drown in emotion or to analyze it. The weak man looks for sympathy. The strong man looks for patterns. He asks himself why it happened, what it revealed, and how it can be used. Pain exposes truth more clearly than comfort ever will. It shows you who is loyal, what you rely on, and where you are vulnerable. To Machiavelli, this awareness is worth more than any comfort, because knowledge born from pain cannot be taken away. It hardens you, but it also opens your eyes to the nature of people and the nature of power. Pain refines perception. When you have suffered deeply, you start to recognize suffering in others, and that gives you control. You can predict their reactions because you've lived their weakness. You know how fear looks, how desperation sounds, how guilt moves. This knowledge allows you to manipulate situations without showing your hand. It is not cruelty, it is mastery. The world respects those who remain composed when others would break. When pain teaches you composure, you become a weapon in silence. You stop asking for fairness and start focusing on advantage. To turn pain into control, you must remove its emotion and keep its lesson. Do not waste energy hating those who hurt you. Study them. Learn their method, their timing, their motive. People who cause pain reveal their entire strategy when they act. They show you where your guard was down, how they exploited it, and what they assumed you would do. Once you see that clearly, they lose power over you. Pain becomes data. You stop saying, "Why me?" and start saying, "Thank you for the information." That shift changes everything. Pain also burns away illusions. It strips you of the lies you tell yourself about who you are. When everything collapses and you are left alone with your thoughts, the mask falls. You meet your true self, not the one built for others, but the one that survives when nothing is left. Most people avoid that encounter. The Machiavellian mind embraces it. Because once you know your lowest self, no insult or loss can surprise you again. You become emotionally immune. Pain can teach control over timing, another crucial skill. Those who act out of pain move too quickly. They send angry messages, make reckless decisions, and show their wounds to those who will use them. But when you learn to pause and feel your pain without reacting, you turn it into patience. That patience becomes calculation. You can then choose when and how to respond, not with emotion, but with precision. You stop being a player in someone else's game and start writing your own moves. Machiavelli would say that the man who controls his pain controls his destiny, because pain is life's test of power, not physical power, but the power of mind and will. If you can feel deeply without being ruled by what you feel, if you can suffer without losing clarity, you become untouchable. Every wound becomes a lesson, every betrayal a training ground. You stop fearing what others fear because you've already survived worse. In that moment, pain no longer controls you, it obeys you. And when pain obeys, nothing in the world can truly defeat you. Never showing your true feelings is the most powerful disguise in a world addicted to emotional display. Most people speak before thinking, react before observing, and reveal themselves without realizing it. Their faces betray them, their tone exposes them, and their emotions become signals for others to use. Machiavelli understood that emotions are like open doors to the mind, and once someone sees inside, they can control what happens next. To hide your feelings is to protect your strategy. The mask is not deceit, it is defense. It is the art of control disguised as calm. When you express every emotion, you give others a map of your weaknesses. They learn what makes you angry, what softens you, what you fear, and what you crave. That information becomes a weapon in their hands. People do not always use it consciously. Sometimes they test you just to see if they can. A word here, a look there, and your reaction tells them everything. The moment you react, you lose ground. The moment you remain still, you gain it. Silence confuses people who depend on emotional response. They cannot predict you, and unpredictability is power. To master the mask, you must understand your emotions before others do. Feel them fully in private so that you can command them in public. A man who hides his feelings is not numb. He is disciplined. He chooses when to reveal emotion because he understands its impact. A smile can manipulate more than anger, and calmness in chaos can dominate louder voices. The Machiavellian mind does not reject feeling. It weaponizes it. When you decide what others see, you control their perception. And perception, more than truth, shapes reality. The mask also protects your inner world from judgment. People will always project their motives onto your reactions. If you show fear, they will sense weakness. If you show excitement, they will test your boundaries. If you show sadness, they will pity or exploit you. But when you show nothing, they are left guessing. Uncertainty makes them cautious. They hesitate to attack what they do not understand. In a world driven by emotion, emotional invisibility is dominance. You must also learn to wear the right mask for the right situation. Around enemies, show calmness. Around allies, show controlled warmth. Around manipulators, show confusion or indifference. Each mask serves a purpose. The weak believe honesty means exposure, but Machiavelli would argue that honesty must serve strategy. You can speak the truth without revealing your heart. You can appear loyal while studying betrayal. You can act humble while preparing to rise. The mask is not falsehood, it is mastery of presentation. The discipline of concealment requires silence. Words often betray what the face hides. When emotions rise, speak less. The more you explain yourself, the more power you give away. Mystery feeds respect, while transparency invites intrusion. Those who know too much about you can predict you, and those who can predict you can control you. Therefore, say little, reveal less, and let your calmness do the talking. People will call you cold, but coldness is not cruelty. It is clarity. Warmth can be used against you, but composure cannot. To appear emotionless while feeling deeply inside is not hypocrisy. It is evolution. The man who shows his feelings to everyone serves everyone's interests but his own. The man who hides them serves his own power. When others cannot read your emotions, they cannot read your intentions, and when they cannot read your intentions, they must respect your mystery. Machiavelli would say that the mask is a crown invisible to fools. It shields your strategy, commands attention, and creates distance between your power and their expectations. Those who can't control their faces remain prisoners of impulse. Those who can, rule over those who can't. The mask protects the throne because it hides the man, and the hidden man can never be defeated, only feared. Empathy is often mistaken for weakness, but in the eyes of Machiavelli, it is one of the most powerful tools of influence. To understand others deeply is to hold the strings of their emotions. Most people use empathy to comfort, to connect, or to heal. But the strategist uses it to observe, to predict, and to control. True empathy is not about sharing feelings. It is about reading them, dissecting them, and learning how they move people. When you can sense what others feel before they admit it, you can guide their actions without force. That is not cruelty. It is precision. The powerful do not always dominate with aggression. Sometimes they lead with understanding. When you see through another person's fears, hopes, and insecurities, you learn what drives them. Every person moves for a reason. Some seek validation, some crave safety, others hunger for control. Once you discover what fuels them, you can offer or withhold it at will. You become the invisible hand behind their choices. They think they are acting freely, but they are walking the path you have drawn. Machiavelli would say that manipulation built on empathy is the most efficient form of power because it feels like trust. To use empathy as a weapon, you must first master observation. Watch how people speak when they lie, how their tone shifts when they are nervous, how their eyes move when they hide something. Notice what topics excite them and which ones silence them. These are windows into the soul. Most men listen to words. The wise man listens to reactions. People reveal far more through what they try to conceal than what they choose to say. When you see those signs clearly, you can mirror their emotions, making them believe you are aligned with them. Once they trust your reflection, they stop guarding themselves, and that is when influence begins. Empathy allows you to disarm resistance. When someone feels understood, they lower their defenses. They reveal their intentions, their pain, and their history. They stop fighting and start confiding. You no longer have to demand information. They offer it willingly. The manipulator who uses empathy correctly never looks like a manipulator at all. He appears kind, attentive, and wise. His control is invisible, and that is what makes it absolute. The more you let others talk, the more they reveal. The more they reveal, the more predictable they become. Yet Machiavellian empathy is not blind compassion. It has limits. You feel their pain, but you do not carry it. You understand their emotions, but you do not drown in them. Emotional distance is the line that separates wisdom from weakness. If you absorb others' suffering, you lose your clarity. You must stand outside their emotions, studying them as a scientist studies a storm, aware of its power, but untouched by its chaos. Compassion clouds reason, understanding sharpens it. The goal is not to be heartless, but to ensure your heart never blinds your mind. Empathy can also be a mask. Sometimes you use it to make people believe you care more than you do. They open up because they crave validation, and you give them just enough to keep them close. This is how alliances are built and loyalties are secured. Even enemies can be softened through well-placed empathy. If you understand their desires and pains, you can make them believe you share them. People follow those who make them feel seen, even when being seen is part of a calculated act. Empathy used this way turns every relationship into a field of strategy. You no longer speak only to be heard. You speak to guide emotion. You listen not to comfort, but to map the mind. You respond not from kindness, but from knowledge. The more you understand others, the less they can deceive you. Their patterns become obvious, their intentions transparent, and while they believe they are being understood, you are quietly shaping their next move. This is the hidden power of empathy, not to feel for others, but to master them through understanding. To emotionally disarm your opponents is to win without open conflict. Most people try to dominate through force, intimidation, or argument, but Machiavelli understood that the sharpest victories are won through illusion. When people see you as a threat, they defend themselves. When they see you as harmless, they expose themselves. To disarm someone emotionally is to make them feel safe in your presence, while quietly dismantling their guard. You become the mirror of their comfort, the echo of their trust, until they no longer sense danger. And when they finally rest, you strike, not out of cruelty, but out of precision. Human nature is predictable. The mind lowers its defenses when it feels understood or admired. A compliment, a small act of humility, or a shared moment of vulnerability can make even the most cautious person relax. They begin to believe you are on their side. This is the essence of emotional disarmament, to use connection as a weapon. You study their ego, feed it, and watch it blind them. The proud crave validation, the insecure crave reassurance, and the powerful crave obedience. When you give them what they crave, they stop seeing you as an adversary. That is when their walls collapse. To disarm someone, you must master the illusion of alignment. Pretend to share their goals, agree with their opinions, or reflect their emotions. People trust those who seem similar to them. When you nod at their ideas, they see affirmation. When you match their tone, they see empathy. When you mirror their mood, they see understanding. In truth, you are only mapping their behavior, learning how they react under comfort. Once you know the pattern, you can steer them in any direction without resistance. The more they feel seen, the less they see you clearly. Machiavelli would warn that open confrontation is wasteful. It hardens hearts and strengthens loyalty against you. But when you disarm someone emotionally, you turn them into an ally by choice. They will defend you, confide in you, and even act in your favor without realizing it. That is the art of invisible victory, to make your opponent believe you are their friend while you quietly guide their downfall. It is a game of patience and subtlety. The strong attack with anger, the wise attack with calm. You must also learn when to show weakness. There is power in appearing fragile at the right moment. When people believe you are harmless, they underestimate you. They reveal information they would have otherwise hidden. They drop their guard because pity and superiority dull their caution. Let them think they are in control. Let them believe they are teaching you, guiding you, or protecting you, all the while you are studying them. collecting every detail, every habit, every desire. When the time comes, you use that knowledge to direct the outcome without ever raising your voice. To emotionally disarm others requires silence more than speech. The more you listen, the more power you gather. Every word they say gives away a piece of their strategy. Every emotional outburst tells you what triggers them. You, on the other hand, must remain still. Calm eyes, steady tone, unreadable face. People open up to those who do not challenge their emotions. Your restraint becomes an invitation for them to express themselves, and in expression, they reveal their weaknesses. This approach is not cruelty, it is the refinement of human understanding. To disarm does not mean to destroy, it means to control the battlefield without a fight. Once someone is emotionally open to you, they are no longer dangerous. Their anger can be redirected, their pride can be softened, their resistance can be reshaped. You rule not through fear but through comfort, and that is the most effective domination of all. Machiavelli would say the greatest power is not in breaking the enemy's sword, but in convincing him to lay it down himself. When you achieve that, your control is complete, and your victory remains invisible. Power begins with the mastery of self. The man who seeks peace will always be ruled by those who seek power, but the one who seeks power over himself commands both peace and conflict. Machiavelli understood that control of emotion is the highest form of strength because emotion governs every decision, every reaction, every word that escapes the mouth. To be emotionally dangerous is to be unshaken by the noise of the world. Calm not because the world is calm, but because you no longer depend on it for balance. When others lose control, you become the stillness that unsettles them. Your composure becomes a weapon, your restraint a form of dominance. True self-control is not natural. It is forged through awareness. You must first confront your own chaos, the storms of anger, fear, and desire that move within you. Most men avoid this confrontation because it is uncomfortable to face the truth about themselves. But until you face it, it will control you. Every outburst, every insecurity, every impulse is a form of weakness that others can exploit. When you understand these parts of yourself and discipline them, you become unpredictable. No insult can provoke you, no temptation can lure you, and no loss can destroy you. You become free from emotional slavery. The man who governs himself governs his fate. The world will always try to provoke you through disrespect, betrayal, or misfortune. But each test is a mirror reflecting the strength of your inner rule. The average man seeks control over circumstances. The wise man seeks control over reaction. You cannot dictate how the world treats you, but you can decide how much of yourself you give it. Machiavelli would say that every emotion you reveal is a piece of your sovereignty handed away. To protect your power, you must act with intent, not instinct. Calmness in chaos is not passivity. It is superiority. When others panic, they reveal their limits. Their fear exposes their lack of preparation. Their anger exposes their insecurity. But the man who remains still while others break commands respect without words. People trust him in uncertainty because he does not share their fear. They follow his silence because it feels like confidence. Emotional stability is magnetic. It draws authority to those who possess it. In a room full of shouting men, the quiet one holds the most power. To seek power over yourself is also to abandon the need for approval. External validation is the cage of emotional weakness. When you crave recognition, you give others the ability to control your mood. Praise lifts you, criticism breaks you. But when you find worth within discipline, neither affects you. You move with purpose, not reaction. The emotionally dangerous man understands that peace is not found by avoiding conflict, but by mastering it internally. His calm is not fragile, it is chosen. He can walk through insult, chaos, and loss with the same expression because his mind does not depend on the world's temperature to remain steady. This mastery also makes you a mirror to others. When people meet someone who is unshaken, they begin to question their own instability. They sense power but cannot define it. They feel drawn and intimidated at the same time. That confusion gives you quiet authority. You do not need to demand respect. It is offered instinctively. The calm man becomes the center of gravity in every situation. Machiavelli would argue that such a man is untouchable because his strength cannot be seen or taken. Wealth can be stolen, titles can be revoked, but self-control belongs only to the one who earns it. To rule the mind is to rule every moment. When you no longer seek peace but create it from within, the world bends toward your energy. You no longer chase control. You become it. Power does not belong to the loud, the ruthless, or the rich. It belongs to the few who can rule themselves when the world demands reaction. You have learned how to detach from emotion, how to turn pain into mastery, how to wear the mask, how to read hearts through empathy, how to disarm without force, and how to command peace through inner control. These are not lessons for the ordinary. They are lessons for those who refuse to be ruled by impulse, for those who would rather be feared for their calm than loved for their weakness. The emotionally dangerous man is not cruel. He is clear. He does not destroy others. He simply cannot be destroyed by them. Remember this. In a world that worships reaction, silence is rebellion. In a world that trades emotions like currency, restraint is wealth. And in a world that feeds on fear, calmness is power. Become the man who feels deeply but bows to nothing within him. Then you will no longer chase power. Power will find you.